The Dalai Lama once said, "It is our collective and individual responsibility to preserve and tend to the world in which we all live in." The airplane industry has been growing exponentially in the last few decades. Ever since the first commercial flight on the 1st of January 1914, aircraft are introduced to the world not only as a machine which is able to fly and made as an attraction, but also as a new traveling method between locations, from propellers to jet engine aircraft to the possibility of commercial space transport.
A major milestone in the race to send tourists into space, one private citizen is about to take a summer trip that's out of this world.
This has shown the endless possibilities of technology's wonders and human innovation that can and will happen in the future. As the demand for traveling is increasing, traveling by air becomes more affordable, such that more and more people are able to fly. Today, the airline industry is almost staple means of traveling intercontinentally due to its ability to reach places which are hard for other means of transportation. Other than that, it is much faster than cars, trains, and boats. Take into an example, the current largest commercial aircraft, Airbus A380, which has a maximum certified capacity of 853 passengers and is able to travel a top speed of 1,185 kilometers per hour.
But as we enter an era where air transport is the mainstay for overseas traveling, it is hard to overlook that the airline industry is a prominent contributor of global pollution. In fact, the global aviation industry produces around 2% of all human-induced CO2 emissions and accounts for 12% of CO2 emitted by all types of transportation. With no known practical travel alternatives that can match the efficiency of aircraft, air transport dependency is increasing by the day, which is evident from the increase in megatons of CO2 produced yearly between 2013 and 2018. In 2013 and 2018, the annual emission of CO2 is recorded at 706 megatons and 903 megatons respectively, which sees a 197 megaton increase in annual CO2 emission. In 2019, the annual CO2 emission is recorded at 920 megatons. In that year, narrow-body passenger aircrafts contributed 393 megatons in CO2 emission, followed by wide-body passenger aircrafts at 336 megatons, regional passenger aircrafts at 56 megatons, belly cargo aircrafts at 969 megatons, and dedicated freighter aircrafts at 66 megatons. Of the 920 megatons emitted in that year from aircrafts, passenger aircrafts account for 85% of that emission, producing 785 megatons. But that alone isn't the most of it. Aircrafts also emit other greenhouse gases, including nitrogen oxide, which creates ozone and destroys methane, soot and aerosols, and water vapor that prompts the formation of contrails and man-made cirrus clouds. And, according to Marcus Fischer, who is the German Aerospace Center Deputy Board Member of Aeronautics, non-carbon dioxide effects account for the largest share of climate impact of aviation. Not to mention that the emission of these greenhouse gases at aircraft cruising altitudes pose way more of a threat than we can imagine. According to Professor Dr. Volker Greve, who is a researcher at DLR and chair for climate effects of aviation at Technical University Delft, air transport's contribution to climate change is roughly 5% if non-carbon dioxide greenhouse gases are also taken into account. Apart from emitting greenhouse gases, aircrafts are also known to produce air pollutants ranging from nitrogen dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and particulate matter, which can reduce air quality. And poor air quality is known to have a damaging effect on health, vegetation, and the ecosystem as well. The aviation industry as a whole can also have detrimental effects on the local environment, which includes, but is not limited to, the noise and vibration levels that can be disruptive to nearby life, poor access of airports that can also damage air quality due to traffic, the production and accumulation of waste from airports and airlines, damaged water quality due to fuel leaks and spillage, the large consumption and supply of water required for airports to operate, and noise pollution. With all those inconveniences caused by airlines and airports, we now ponder the question, is the aviation industry a bad thing?
The answer is, not necessarily. You see, there are a lot of benefits that can come from the aviation industry as well, such as economically and in regards to the social humanitarian impact. Take an example in Indonesia. Here alone, the International Air Transport Association, or the IATA, reports that the aviation industry contributes to 2.4% of the annual GDP, alongside supplying 4.2 million jobs, both directly and indirectly, to the country. This can range from being a pilot, working within the airplane industry such as in the airport, or even to fulfilling the needs of the whole aviation operation. Furthermore, the aviation industry also connects the world, in which as of now we can say that almost all major civilizations are connected through the air route. This also further supports industries related to human connectivity, such as the tourism industry. In 2019, it is recorded that 20 countries enabled their tourism sector to contribute 10% of their GDP.
Earlier, we mentioned that the aviation industry accounts for 2% of global emissions and just 12% in the transportation sector. Yet, it contributes to 2.4% of annual GDP in Indonesia and just over 3% globally. That is more of a benefit than a drawback. To add to that, the aviation industry has one of the fastest research and development when it comes to sustainable growth, meaning that the emissions and other pollutants exhausted relative to the benefit will be less and less in the future. This is of course done to combat the increasing demand and volume of cargo and passengers. So, how exactly are they going to do that? To name a few, there is the development and usage of sustainable fuel, more environmentally friendly airports, a more efficient air traffic management, and many more. These improvements are not just hypothetical. It has been done before, and it will continue improving annually. And in fact, if we were to compare our technology today and the ones in, let's say, 1990, we have found that our technology has improved by 70% in terms of efficiency, which is about a 1.8% increase in efficiency annually. So, if we are asked if the aviation industry is doing a good job or not, I would say yes.
Moving on a bit from how the aviation industry is trying to reduce their environmental effect, have you heard of the flying fish? No, not that. I'm talking about this. I know this may seem crazy, but they are not doing this for fun. These people are actually a part of the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources performing its annual aerial fish stocking. They have been doing this since 1956 to help maintain the population of these fishes in these remote water bodies. Many of the lakes in Utah are not accessible through road transportation. Even if they could, aerial stocking would still be more cost effective as they can drop up to 35,000 2-inch fish in a single flight without reloading the fish. And they can aerially stock 40 to 60 lakes in a single day. And surprisingly, the fishes actually enjoy being dropped off from an aircraft rather than being transported by ground, as it's more difficult to maintain the required oxygen levels in small packable tanks for such long distances. See, if the aviation industry is removed, the fish population in these remote lakes in Utah will be gone, and these lakes will only be a husk of what it was. So the aviation industry isn't all about destroying the environment. This case shows that it can also help in fixing the environment, especially in the future when the aircrafts will be more eco-friendly, thus reducing the cost benefit of utilizing them and helping the environment. So, after seeing how the aviation industry affects the environment and its benefits to it, we can see that we can't just point our fingers and put all the blame into one specific industry. We need to look at the big picture and see where we can help improve the current technology to make it more environmentally friendly. So, rather than wasting our time and mind to protest and blame, think of new solutions and possible ways to help the current agenda of the aviation industry of moving on towards a greener future and a better world for all of us.